Today on the Ask BP podcast, we're talking about how do you find foreclosed properties. Stay tuned.
You're listening to another BiggerPockets Ask BP podcast, where you'll hear short, direct answers to your biggest real estate questions. Submit your question today on Facebook, Twitter, or the BiggerPockets forums by using hashtag AskBP. And don't forget to pick up your copy of the Ultimate Beginner's Guide to Real Estate Investing and other great content when you sign up for your free account at BiggerPockets.com. With that, let's get to the show.
Hey, what is going on, everyone? My name is Brandon with the Ask BP podcast. Thank you so much for joining me today. Super excited about today's show because we're talking about something that I have focused tremendously on over the last few years, and that is foreclosures, buying foreclosed properties. So today's question comes to us from Billy from Austin, Texas, and Billy asked simply, how do you find foreclosed properties? You know, the word foreclosure is it's a word that instantly people start to think, ooh, good deals. Investors anyway. You know, if you're not an investor, you probably think, oh crap, I'm losing my house. But if you're an investor, you think, oh, good deals. But how do you find them? How do you get to them? So let me talk about a few ways that you can find foreclosures, because like I said, it's been a huge part of my strategy throughout my investing. In fact, almost every property I've bought has been through a foreclosure recently. All the way, some of my single family houses, small multifamily properties, my apartment complex had gone through a foreclosure. I like foreclosures for a number of reasons. One, because generally there's deferred maintenance during a foreclosure, something wrong with the property, because when people are getting foreclosed on, which means that they're losing their house, in case you're not familiar with the term foreclosure, they're losing their property because they didn't pay their mortgage, then there's usually deferred maintenance. So usually you can get a better deal because most people aren't interested. In other words, there's less competition for those deals. So I like to look for foreclosures because of that, because of the less competition, thus a better price. Also, when you're dealing with foreclosures, you're usually dealing with a bank that is selling the property. And so a little bit less emotion involved, which I like a lot. I don't like dealing with homeowners very much. I mean, I'll do it if I need to, but I'd rather just deal with a bank and, guys in a suit and tie in some foreign city. I don't know. I like dealing that way. I don't feel bad throwing out lots of offers to them because it's just part of their job. That's what they do. And I kind of enjoy that. But so anyway, that's what a foreclosure is and why they're kind of valuable. So let's talk about how you find it. First of all, let me separate foreclosure into two things. There's pre-foreclosure, and then there's like foreclosure or post-foreclosure or whatever you want to call it. But usually we just call it pre-foreclosure and then the foreclosed property, or an REO. You may hear that term REO. That means real estate owned, also known as the property was already foreclosed upon and the bank has taken it back. So there's two places you can buy a property. You can buy either pre-foreclosure or post-foreclosure. Technically, there's one exactly right in the middle there where you buy it at the courthouse steps, like on the foreclosure, like when it's happening, but we're not going to get into that today. So you can buy it ahead of time if you can find a motivated seller. Now, this is something that I don't do a lot of because, again, I like dealing with the banks, not the people, but there are a lot of individuals who try to purchase properties successfully. I mean, a lot of successful investors do this, and they buy them before the foreclosure because you can sometimes get a really good deal, and you can help people out. I don't want to make it sound like people are, they're just taking advantage of these people in a bad situation. These people in a bad situation have not paid their mortgage for a long time for whatever reason, and they're in trouble. They're going to lose it because the foreclosure proceedings have already begun, and so they're in pre-foreclosure. And so what investors will do is they'll come through and they can help the homeowner by buying the property, paying off the bank who's foreclosing, and they get that property. And so it's pretty cool that you can help the people out. They don't have the foreclosure on their record. You get a good property at a good price, hopefully. Now, the difficult part of that, obviously, is what if if the person has stopped paying their mortgage, chances are they owe more than what the mortgage is. For example, let's just say that they owed $100,000 on a house mortgage, but the house would only sell for $90,000 or $100,000, right? Like they owe what it's worth. That's very common, is they owe what it is worth. Or even if you'd say they owe $100,000 and you could say that maybe it's worth $110,000. Well, still, as an investor, there's not much you can do with that. If they were to sell it on the open market, they wouldn't make any money from it. Now, they might be able to break even paying the real estate agent and all the closing costs. They might break even at that point. But so if you're going to buy in pre-foreclosure, meaning that it's already, the foreclosure proceedings have started, you need to make sure, first of all, that there is equity for you to buy. So when you contact those people, you need to make sure that there is equity. In other words, room between what they owe and what it's worth. So let's go back to that same example. If the property is worth $100,000 and they owe $100,000, there's not a lot you as an investor can do. However, if they only owe $50,000 and it's worth $100,000, well, now you've got some room to move. Maybe you could buy it for them for what they owe, $50,000. And in pre-foreclosure, they likely have a lot of back payments and stuff as well, so you have to make up for that. But let's say you bought it for $57,000 and it's worth $100,000. Well, great. Maybe you can fix it up a little bit and sell it for $95,000. Sell it on discount for $95,000, and you still make a nice profit. That's kind of how you buy them in pre-foreclosure. If you're going to find those, so how do you find them? Let's go back to Billy's original question. How do you find foreclosures? Well, let's talk about pre-foreclosures. You can sometimes get lists of people who are maybe 30 days or 60 days or 90 days late on their mortgage. You can check out a site like listsource.com. You can try to find that data. And then you can send those people a letter. You can send them a piece of mail. You can stop by their house and knock on their door. You can also do like what's called driving for dollars. You just get in your car, throw the kids in the back seat and put on a Barney video for them or whatever the kids are watching these days, and just drive and cruise the neighborhoods and look for signs for properties that look like they're abandoned. Because generally a property that's abandoned, that nobody's living there anymore, is likely a very good chance that they're going through foreclosure. So that might be a good opportunity to get a pre-foreclosure deal before it hits the foreclosure market, before the goes on the courthouse steps, and then the bank takes it back, and then the bank goes and sells it on the MLS. You can hit it before all that. Look for notices, legal notices on the doors or on the windows. That's a good sign that a property is being foreclosed on. So that's kind of some of the ways that you can get the properties beforehand. And again, you can do letters, you can do door knocking, all that good stuff. You can also go to a site like foreclosure.com. And I know BiggerPockets has a discount program with them. So if you're interested in signing up for foreclosure.com to get first access to a lot of foreclosure data, just go to biggerpockets.com/perks, PERKS. You can get some good, a discount on foreclosure.com's subscription service. So keep that in mind as well. Now let's move on and go from the pre-foreclosure, and let's talk about post-foreclosure, or after the foreclosure has happened, and now the property is an REO, a real estate owned property. So how do you buy that? Now, back in the day, 10 years ago, 15 years ago, 20 years ago, whatever, a lot of times you could build relationships with the REO department at a bank. And then as soon as they took back the property, they might sell it to you kind of, like, hey, buddy, I got this property here. It doesn't generally work that way anymore. Almost every time a foreclosure happens, the bank will take it and, usually clean it up a little bit. Not always though, but usually they do a little bit to it. Like, put new locks on it, make sure it's secure. And then they will just list it with a local real estate agent. And so it's been foreclosed on. The bank has taken it back. It's officially theirs. It's empty now. And the bank can sell it, and they'll get whatever, they'll try to get whatever they can. That is what I typically buy, is those foreclosures. So obviously to find those, you just need a good real estate agent, because again, those properties are on the MLS, the multiple listing service. In other words, where all the agents in the world, or in America, put all their properties, and then everybody can look at them and try to buy them. That is kind of where you want to look if you're looking for a foreclosure. And some sites, like there's a lot of places you can search the MLS, like Zillow or Trulia or Realtor.com, Redfin.com. A lot of those kind of search the MLS. None of them do it perfectly. And so the best bet is just to find yourself a good real estate agent to help you look there. And some of those sites, though, will help you be able to say, okay, I only want foreclosures that have the word foreclosure in it, or something like that. That way you can segregate a little bit better. But really, your best bet is just to use a real estate agent. The best thing about that is that when you use an agent, the seller, in other words, the bank that's selling the REO, they're the ones that pay for the agent. So the agent is free for you in most cases. So definitely check that out. Get a good agent, tell them what you want, and go look for those foreclosures. And remember this though, just because it is a foreclosure does not mean it is a good deal. In fact, most foreclosures are still bad deals for investors, especially if the property is in real good condition, I guess even in bad condition. Most of them are just not good deals because, I don't know, a lot of people like the idea of a foreclosure, even non-investors. And so they'll pay more because they're like, oh, I'm going to get a good deal. So the competition's rising as real estate gets more and more popular, as the bubble builds. more and more people see foreclosures as the holy grail of real estate investing, and they go and buy them without doing the numbers. So make sure you do your numbers solid. If you need help with that, obviously go to biggerpockets.com/analysis, and you can check out the BiggerPockets rental property or flipping calculators and run the numbers through there, or also the wholesaling calculator. They're all there, biggerpockets.com/analysis. So make sure you check that out. And final note is, if you're going to buy in post foreclosure or after the foreclosure happens and you're going to buy the REO, typically all the liens on the property have been paid off. In other words, if the person has there was a contractor lien on the property, or there were some other weird liens, usually in an REO case, when it goes on the MLS, the liens are all paid off. Now, on the other hand, if you are trying to buy a property that is pre-foreclosure, the seller may have liens they didn't tell you about. They may forget conveniently about that $20,000 home equity line of credit that they took out to buy their new boat last year. Or they may forget to tell you that, they failed to pay a contractor a couple years ago and he put a lien on their house. And in order to buy that property, either you buy it and you're going to have to pay the lien then, or you're going to have to pay the lien off when you buy it. And so make sure you investigate the liens. If you're going to buy it, make sure you go through a good title company or an attorney if you're in one of those states, and get a good title search done on the property. Make sure that all the liens have been paid off. So with that, hopefully that helps you out there. Let's move on to today's quote of the day. And today's quote is from Zig Ziglar, who said, "Outstanding people have one thing in common, an absolute sense of mission." So let me ask you that. What is your mission today? What are you trying to achieve? What are you doing? Because outstanding people have one thing in common, an absolute sense of mission. So with that, let's get out of here. Remember, everyone listening, remember, in pursuit of your goals, dreams, and aspirations, don't just learn, but take action. Get out there in the world and do something today. Take some action. And if you want to take a really brief piece of action, I would love if you help me out and leave me a review or a rating on iTunes. It really, really helps us to be able to reach more people. We don't exactly know how iTunes algorithm works, but if you leave a rating review, it seems to bump it up every time somebody does. So every time you leave a rating or review, it just bumps it up a little bit. So in iTunes, if you could do that for me, you would be awesome. I'll give you a big bear hug. And if you are watching this on YouTube, I want to also ask you to do me a favor and click that thumbs up button on the video. That is how YouTube knows that it is a good video, and they can show other people when somebody goes to YouTube and says, "How do I find a foreclosure?" Hopefully they find this video. Maybe that's how you got here. So with that, let's get out of here. Again, for the Ask BP podcast, my name is Brandon, signing off.
You've just heard another episode of the BiggerPockets Ask BP podcast. Submit your question today on Facebook, Twitter, or the BiggerPockets forum by using hashtag AskBP. And for more incredible real estate investing tools and education, including a free download of our book, The Ultimate Beginner's Guide to Real Estate Investing, head over to BiggerPockets.com and sign up for your free account today. We'll see you on the next show.